What is up, guys and gals? It's me, Thomas Fan 1 here, and I'm really excited to be coming to you guys today because we're going to be doing a new series. We're going to take a little hiatus from the Goof series because we're having such a hard time uploading Magic Railroad. So today we're going to be taking a little bit of a hiatus from that, and we are going to do something. I just got this in the mail today. It is March 13th of 2018, and I just got this in the mail today. I ordered it a couple days ago. We're going to be doing a couple book reads from the original series of Thomas the Tank Engine. And as you can tell, this is the complete series. So none of the episodes have been this skipped out. It is a whopping total of, let's see, how many pages we got here? 400. We're not going to read the back pieces. We're going to be reading all the way up till Toby's Tightrope, which is 405 pages. Oh yeah, so we got quite a bit going on here with this bad boy right here. You guys may not be able to see all of the pictures, so we're going to lower this down, and then we're going to open this up, and I'm going to read, and then, or do my best at least, to include you guys on this journey here. So I know it's going to be a little bit hard because I got to think upside down and backwards. But as you can see, this is the map of the island of Sodor, which, and now there's a newer map, but this is the map this is the original map of the island of Sodor. And as you can see here, you got Thomas, Skarloey, Percy, Bertie. I think that's Gordon, Toby, the Fat Controller, Terrence. Again, that's not Thomas, that's Edward. You know, we just got all your characters right here, and I think that's the miniature railway guy right here. But, pretty much, this is what the island of Sodor really looks like, if you really want to know. So, back up to my face here, we're going to be reading, and it's pretty much kind of like a show and tell sort of situation. We're going to be reading the story about this little blue train, right here, this cheeky little blue train here, which, by the way, this is the collector's edition whistle. So, anybody want to know? This is the whistle. This is the collector's edition whistle from 2001. Maybe not. I could be wrong. Is there other information somewhere on this thing? Probably not. Anyways, enough about my collection. Enough about my Thomas and Friends collection. Let's start reading this book, and we're going to start things off with reading, not the letter to the readers. We're going to be starting this with 3 railway engines, and these are the 4 I believe, yeah, these are the 4 episodes, I believe, that are the beginning of Thomas and Friends, which is pretty much, it starts with, let's see if we can find all of them here. It says, oh wait, nope, I gotta go back a couple pages just to figure that out. It starts with the 3 railway engines. So yeah, it starts with 3 railway engines, which are comprised of the 3 main ones, which are Edward's Day Out, The Sad Story of Henry, and Edward and Gordon, and then Edward, Gordon, and Henry. So those are the 4 main episodes, or stories, in the book reading case. So without further ado, let's start with Edward's Day Out. Once upon a time, there was a little engine called Edward. He lived in a shed with 5 other engines. They were all bigger than Edward and boasted about it. The driver won't choose you again, they said. He wants big, strong engines like us. Edward had not been out for a long time. He began to feel sad. Just then, the driver and fireman came along to start work. The driver looked at Edward. "Why are you sad?" he asked. "Would you like to come out today?" "Yes, please," said Edward. So the fireman lit the fire and made a nice lot of steam, and then the driver pulled the lever and Edward puffed away. "Peep, peep, peep," he whistled. "Look at me now." The others were very cross at being left behind. Away went Edward to get some coaches. "Be careful, Edward," said the coaches. "Don't bump and bang us like the other engines do." So Edward came up along the coaches. It came up to the coaches very, very gently, and the shunter fastened the coupling. "Thank you, Edward," said the coaches. "That was kind. We are glad that you are taking us today." Then they went to the station where other people were waiting. "Peep, peep," whistled Edward. "Get in quickly, please." So the people got in quickly, and Edward waited happily for the guard to blow his whistle and wave his green flag. He waited and waited. There was no whistle, no green flag. "Peep, peep, 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 peep. Where is the guard?" Edward whistled. Edward was correction. Let's redo that because my eyes go faster than what I can actually read. Peep, 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 peep. Where is that guard? Edward was getting anxious. The driver and fireman asked the station master, "Have you seen the guard?" "No," he said. They asked the porter, "Have you seen the guard?" "Yes, last night," said the porter. Edward began to get cross. "Are we ever going to start?" he said. Just then a little boy shouted, "Here he comes!" And down came the guard. And here came the guard, down the hill with his flags in one hand and a sandwich in the other. He ran on top of the platform and blew his whistle, and jumped into his van. Edward puffed off. He did have a happy day. All the children ran to wave as he went past and met his old friends at all the stations. He worked so hard that the driver promised to take him out again the next day. "I'm going out again tomorrow," he told the other engines that night in the shed. "What do you think of that?" But he didn't hear what they thought, for he was so tired and happy that he fell asleep at once. Now, this is where the TV series messed things up quite a bit. They could have made Edward's Day Out into one episode, but the whole story of Edward's Day Out, they could have made it into one episode, but they didn't. And they added Edward's Day Out and Edward and Gordon into here. So, this is where we find out about Gordon's story. One of the engines in Edward's shed was called Gordon. He was very big and very proud. "You watch me this afternoon, little Edward," he boasted as I rushed through with the express. "That will be a splendid sight for you." Just then his driver pulled the lever. "Goodbye, little Edward," said Gordon as he puffed away. "Look out for me this afternoon." Edward went off too, to do some shunting. Edward liked shunting. It was fun with the trucks. He would come up quietly and give them a pull. "Oh, oh, 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 oh," screamed the trucks. "Whatever is happening?" Then he would stop, and the silly trucks would go bump into each other. "Oh, oh, 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 oh," they cried again. Edward pushed them until they were running nicely, and when they weren't expecting it, he would stop. One of them would be sure to run on to the other line. Edward played till there were no more trucks. Then he stopped to rest. Presently he heard a whistle. Gordon came along very slowly and very crossly. Instead of nice shining coaches, he was pulling a lot of very dirty coal trucks. "A goods train, a goods train, a goods train," he grumbled. "The shame of it, the shame of it, the shame of it." He slowly went through with the trucks cluttering and banging behind him. Edward laughed and went to find some more trucks. Soon afterwards, a porter came through and spoke to his driver. "Gordon can't get up the hill. Will you take Edward and push him, please?" They found Gordon halfway up the hill and very cross. His driver and fireman were talking to him severely. "You're not trying," they told him. "I can't do it," said Gordon. "The noisy trucks hold an engine back so. If they were coaches now, clean, sensible things that come quietly, that would be different." See, this is where the adventure begins comes into play, where they actually got some of the dialogue correctly, but they didn't nail. They nailed some of the dialogue, but they didn't nail the, how shall we say, attitude of the situation, where Gordon is just this big grumpy engine and he's trying to get his message across that I don't want to pull this. I do not want to do this. Edward's driver came up. We've come to push," he said. "No use at all," said Gordon. "You wait and see," said Edward's driver. They brought the train back to the bottom of the hill. Edward came up behind the... Give me 1 second. And we're back. Sorry, I had to answer some text messages there for a second. But let's continue. Edward's driver. They brought the train back to the bottom of the hill. Edward came up behind the brake van, ready to push. "Peep, peep, I'm ready," said Edward. Poop, poop, no good, grumbled Gordon. The guard blew his whistle, and they pulled and pushed as hard as they could. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it, puffed Gordon. I will do it. I will do it. I will do it, puffed Edward. I can't do it. I will do it. I can't do it. I will do it. I can't do it. I will do it, they puffed together. Edward pushed and puffed and puffed and pushed as hard as ever he could, and almost before he realized it, Gordon found himself at the top of the hill. I've done it! I've done it! I've done it! He said proudly, and forgot all about Edward pushing behind. He didn't wait to say thank you, but ran on so fast that he passed 2 stations before his driver could make him stop. Edward had pushed so hard that when he got to the top, he was out of breath. Gordon ran so fast that Edward was left behind. The guard waved and waved, but Edward couldn't catch up. He ran to the next station, and there the driver and fireman said that they were very pleased with him. The fireman gave him a nice long drink of water, and the driver said, I will get my paint out tomorrow and give you a nice beautiful blue coat with red stripes. Then you'll be the smartest looking engine in the shed. And that is where Edward and Gordon leaves off, and then we come to the sad story of Henry, which I'm sure everybody knows by now. But anyways, to continue with this read-along, once an engine attached to a train was afraid of a few drops of rain. It went into a tunnel and squeaked through its funnel and never came out again. The engine's name was Henry. His driver and fireman argued with him, but he would not move. The rain will spoil my lovely green paint and red stripes, he said. The guard blew his whistle till he had no more breath and waved his flags till his arms ached. But Henry still stayed in the tunnel and blew steam at him. I'm not going to spoil my lovely green paint and red stripes for you, he said rudely. The passengers came out and argued too, but Henry would not move. A fat director, this is where I enjoy this, because it literally says a fat director, implying that there's multiple fat directors. So it's not one fat controller, it's multiple fat controllers. Like literally, I'm going to bend this down, flip around the book, a fat director. I kid you not. That's what the pages say. A fat director who was on the train told the guard to get a rope. We will pull you out, he said, but Henry only blew steam at him and made him wet. They hooked up the rope on. This is where my eyes and my mouth cannot go. Nope. This is where my mind and my eyes and my mouth do not connect. They hooked the rope on and pulled, except the fat director. My doctor has forbidden me to pull, he said. They pulled and pulled and pulled, but Henry still stayed in the tunnel. Then they tried pushing from the other end. The fat director said, 1, 2, 3, push! But he didn't help. My doctor has forbidden me to push, he said. They pushed and pushed and pushed, but Henry still stayed in the tunnel. At last, another train came, and the guard waved his red flag and stopped it. The two engine drivers, the 2 firemen, and the 2 guards went and argued with Henry. Look, it has stopped raining, they said. Yes, but it will begin again soon, said Henry. And what would become of my green paint and red stripes then? So they brought the other engine up, and it pushed and puffed and puffed and pushed as hard as ever it could. But still, Henry stayed in the tunnel. So they gave it up. They told Henry that we shall leave you here for always and always and always. They took up the old rails, built a wall in front of him, and cut a new tunnel. Now Henry can't get out, and he watches the trains rushing through the new tunnel. He is very sad because no one will ever see his lovely green paint with red stripes again. But I think he deserved it, don't you? I'm not saying that out of context because that's what it literally says on the page in front of me. Now, We are at the last story here, and this will finish our episode for today. Edward, Gordon, and Henry. Edward and Gordon often went through the tunnel, where Henry was shut up. Edward would say, "Peep, peep, hello," and Gordon would say, "Poop, poop, poop, serves you right." Poor Henry had no steam to answer. His fire had gone out. Soot and dirt from the tunnel roof had spoilt his lovely green paint with red stripes. He was cold and unhappy, and wanted to come out and pull trains too. Gordon always pulled the express. He was proud of being the only engine strong enough to do it. There were many heavy coaches full of important people, like the fat director. I love how this went from a fat director, as there being multiple, to the fat controller, as now being there's only one. The fat director who had punished Henry. Gordon was seeing how fast he could go. "Hurry, hurry, hurry, hurry," he panted. "Chickity-chock, chickity-chock, chickity-chock," said the coaches. Gordon could see Henry's tunnel in front. In a minute, he thought, "I'll poop, poop, poop" at Henry, and rushed through and out into the open again. Closer and closer he came. He was almost there, when crack! Wheesh! He was in a cloud of steam, and going slower and slower. His driver stopped the train. "What has happened to me?" asked Gordon. "I feel so weak." "You've burst your safety valve," said the driver. "You can't pull the train anymore." "Oh dear," said Gordon. "We were going so nicely, too." Look at Henry laughing at me." Gordon made a face at Henry and blew smoke at him. Everyone got out and came to see Gordon. "Hoof," said the fat director. "I never liked these big engines. Always wrong. Send for another engine at once." While the guard went to find one, they uncoupled Gordon and ran him on a siding out of the way. The only engine left in the shed was Edward. "I'll come and try," he said. Gordon saw him coming. "That's no use," he said. "Gordon can't pull the train." Edward puffed and pulled and puffed and pulled at the same time, but he couldn't move the heavy coaches. Oh, at the same time was me. That's again where another thing where my brain makes up something of what it should say and what it actually says here. "I told you so," said Gordon rudely. "Why not let Henry try?" "Yes," said the fat director, "I will." "Will you help pull this train, Henry?" he asked. "Yes," said Henry at once. So Gordon's driver and fireman lit his fire, and the plate layers broke down the wall and put back the rails, and when he had steamed up, Henry puffed out. That's not what it says. Well, that is what it says. That's what it says in the book. I mean, I think it would have just been easier to run him out the other end, but, but I guess they put back the rails. I wasn't aware of this. And neither was Britt Allcroft. What a surprise. He was dirty, his boiler was black, and he was covered with cobwebs. "Ooh, I'm stiff, he groaned. "You'd better have a run to ease your joints, and find a turntable," said the fat director kindly. Henry came back feeling better, and they pulled him in front. "Peep, peep," said Edward. "I'm ready." "Peep, peep, peep," said Henry. So am I." Pull hard, puffed Edward. We'll do it, puffed Henry. "Pull hard, we'll do it, pull hard, we'll do it, pull hard, we'll do it," they puffed together. The heavy coaches jerked and began to move, slowly at first, then faster and faster. "We've done it together, we've done it together, we've done it together," said Edward and Henry. "You've done it, hooray, you've done it, hooray, you've done it, hooray," sang the coaches. All the passengers were excited. The fat director leaned out the window to wave at Edward and Henry, but the train was going so fast that his hat blew off into a field, where a goat ate it for tea. They never stopped till they came to the big station at the end of the line. The passengers all got out and said thank you, and the fat director promised Henry a new coat of paint. "Would you like blue and red?" "Yes, please," said Henry, "and then I'll be like Edward." Edward and Henry went home quietly, and on their way they helped Gordon back to the shed. All three engines are now great friends. Wasn't Henry pleased when he had his new coat? He is very proud of it, as all good engines are. But he doesn't mind the rain now, because he knows that the best way to keep his paint nice is not to run into tunnels, but to ask his driver to rub him down after the day's work is over. And thus, we come to the conclusion of the 3 railway engines, and that ends the mark of this episode, and where we will read the next episode, or the next part of the series, Thomas the Tank Engine. So, what did you guys think of this? Do you think that they should have broken up Edward's Day Out into the individual episodes, or do you think they should have left it the same? I think they should. At least let me put it this way. At least in The Adventure Begins, they should have had Edward's Day Out as separate story. They should have. It just should have been like that. Unfortunately, it wasn't. But there's nothing we can do about it now. But, you know, I really like this. I really think this is going to be a really good series, at least in my opinion. So, please, leave your comments down below. I'm really intrigued to know what you guys think about this. Is this something that we should continue? Is this something that we shouldn't continue? Is this something that you guys would like to see more of? Because the dialogue in here is really nice. I like it myself. So, yeah. Tell me what you guys think. Goodbye.